Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video review of the Nintendo eShop release of Carrion, Karrion, the newest game from Devolver Digital for the Nintendo Switch. Game is also available on the Mac, Linux, Xbox One, and PC via Steam, but we'll be focusing on the Switch version. And if you're interested in any gameplay footage, I'll have a link down in the description down below, or you can click on the card that will appear up on this YouTube video. I will say that Devolver Digital has slowly become a favorite publisher of mine lately, though. They've been putting out some pretty interesting games, whether it's games like Katana Year Zero or The Messenger, to even games like the Serious Sam Collection and the upcoming Serious Sam 4, or the Shadow Warrior series, though. A lot of the games they put out have been, really good, and even some of their smaller ones, like the ones I mentioned earlier. So it was kind of interesting when Devolver Digital did their Devolver Digital Direct, which I will say after watching that, it was weird but interesting at the same time. It maintained the humor that Devolver Digital is known for, though. That one of the games that they showed up was a game called Carrion. This was an interesting idea. This was an interesting game that they showed, and it was basically the idea of you being like this monster or something, stalking or going after other folks that are trying to defeat you. It was kind of like, it was basically what many describe as a reverse horror, where instead of you being where you are trying to survive, you're the monster and all that stuff. So when they announced that this was coming to the Nintendo Switch, I decided to give this one a go and try it out myself. And I will say, after spending some time with the game, though, I will say that although there are some minor hiccups I have with the game, I will say I am enjoying it a lot, though. So why don't we get started with our pros and cons, and we'll start with our first part, which is the pros. I will say is that I like the concept. I really do. I like the reverse horror idea. The fact that you play as this biological creature, this biological monster, and basically you're trying to escape this laboratory while also basically surviving against like the other humans that are trying to attack you. Some of them are defenseless and some of them aren't. And not only that, though, you have to basically, use your different abilities and all to survive, and there are plenty of different kinds of abilities, though. But I will say the concept and everything like that is really, really neat, and I'm very glad the developers came up with a very interesting idea for this game. Next thing I want to talk about is the gameplay. And the gameplay is basically a Metroidvania style of gameplay. Now, I understand Metroidvania styles may not appeal to everybody, though, but for me, I actually enjoy it, though. It follows most of the Metroidvania style approach. Some areas cannot be accessed until you get a certain power-up. When you do, you'll be able to access certain areas like that, and so forth. So it follows the formula closely, though. You have like any Metroidvania game, you have different kinds of power-ups. For Carrion's, though, you have the ability ranging from when you go underwater, you could slip through certain areas you couldn't reach. You have the ability to shoot web out to basically open switches and all that stuff. You have the ability to even mind control some of the humans. That can be useful if you're trying to unlock a certain gate or take out a certain amount of enemies, though. Interestingly, though, with the gameplay, though, basically you also have the ability to cut your health bar in half, which may seem a little odd to some people, but the interesting approach is this. When you basically increase your health bar, for example, you'll have a different set of power-ups than you would when you have your health at half, because when you have it at half, you'll have access to the web shooter, which you can use to basically capture certain enemies, to even do certain puzzles and all that stuff. But when you basically have it up at full, you basically don't have that. Instead, you have this ability that can be used to break through certain doors that you can't go through and all. And that's sort of what makes the gameplay kind of interesting, because there are times when you have to cut your health in half to open up, to get access to certain power-ups and all. So it's an interesting style of gameplay, though, but it still follows the core Metroidvania style approach that a lot of Metroidvania games are known for. See games like Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, or one of my favorite Metroidvania games, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And last but not least, I do want to talk about the art style and the music. And the art style kind of looks like somewhat of a mixture between like a 8-bit and 16-bit 2D style and all. And I think it kind of fits that very well. But the music, I think, is really good. I really like the music in this game, and I like how it sort of fits the mood of the type of game this is. And I really think they nailed it down as far as the music go. And I definitely, like I said, the art style looks nice. It's a pixelated, like a 2D art style to a certain degree, but it still looks really good. So visually, it looks nice, and music-wise, it fits the mood of the game, in my view, perfectly. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 2, which is the cons. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our video review of Carrion, if I'm saying the name correctly, apologize if I'm not, for the Nintendo Switch. So now that I gave you the pros, why don't we get started with the cons? And there are 3 cons that I have with it. One I don't think is as big of a deal, and the other 2 I think it can make the game kind of frustrated at times. The first one I do want to talk about is about the Metroidvania style gameplay, and I will say the pros I have are good. I still enjoy the Metroidvania style gameplay and all, but the one little issue I have with the game, at least this is from where I'm seeing, is that there's no mini map and all that stuff. There's no way to pause and check to see where you are and so forth. And because of that, though, there are times when you're going to feel like you're going to be a little bit lost or anything like that. And there were times that happened before. There were times where I did not know if I was supposed to go there or not, and there were times I felt like I was going around in circles and all. So without really a mini map or anything like that, there are going to be points where it does feel like, or at least for me it did, where you are basically lost and so forth. So I think it's sort of an odd decision, at least from my view, that the developers decided they didn't want to put a mini map in the game. The next thing I do want to talk about is controlling, Carrion and all. And I will say the controls, I think, are fine and everything like that. Nothing about the game made it unplayable or broken, but there are times when it can be a little bit difficult. Especially if there are certain enemies. There are some that have shields and all that can make it really difficult to attack them and all. And the fact that you can't switch between different abilities and all that stuff, where you basically have to sacrifice half your health to do that, can lead to some frustrating moments, especially if you're trying to attack certain enemies and all. Again, it doesn't make the game unplayable. I mean, I'm not saying controlling Carrion and all makes it impossible to play the game, though. It's just there are times when I found it to be somewhat difficult. And last but not least is some of the puzzles. This is sort of a low con or anything like that. It's not really a big deal. But there are times when some of the puzzles can be a little bit tricky, though. And it got to the point, just like with the mini-map, though, that I really had to look up a FAQ and the guide and all that stuff, because there are times I figure, wait a minute, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to do some of the puzzles and all that stuff. Again, not impossible. It doesn't make the game unplayable. It's not impossible. It's a low con, but there are times the puzzles can be a little bit tricky inside in this game, though. Overall, Carrion, I will say, is definitely a good and enjoyable Metroidvania style of a game from Devolver Digital, though, who published this game, and be exact. I definitely liked the whole concept and the idea, or what's often referred to as reverse horror, where you basically play as you are the hunter, not the hunted or anything like that. You're not trying to survive against a creature about to attack you and all that. You are that creature and all that stuff. I like the concept and the idea. I think I like the Metroidvania style gameplay, though, and I think the music and the art fits the style pretty well, especially the music. I think it fits the mood, though. Again, there are some hiccups with it. I think it's sort of odd the developers didn't add a mini map. It kind of does make you feel a little bit lost at time, though. And I will say, controlling Carrion can be can be sort of a chore at times, though. It doesn't make, I'm not saying it makes the game unplayable, it's just there are times when it can be a little bit difficult, and the puzzles can be tricky, at least for some people, though. But I will say my overall experience is that it hasn't ruined my experience at all. I really like this game. I think it is a very fun, and the concept is really neat and all. So I would say it's worth taking a look at. As far as which version to pick up, again, it's available on Mac, Linux, Xbox One, and PC via Steam. For me, I have it on the Switch. I like, as the Switch is my favorite console, not to mention the idea of bringing it at home and the go. It fits, for me, it definitely works. With others, if Mac, Linux, or Xbox One, or PC is your main system of choice, go with those if that's what you prefer. But overall, I like the game. I think it's an interesting concept. Kudos to Devolver Digital for publishing this title and all that stuff. Waiting for Series Sam 4 when that comes out, supposedly in September and all, but I definitely like some of these titles that Devolver Digital publishes, and I would like to see more of that. And I wouldn't mind if the developers decide to do an actual sequel to Carrion. If they do decide to do that, that would be kind of very interesting. See, maybe where would it take place? Maybe outside of a lab, maybe in a city or something like that, or anything. But either way, I wouldn't mind a sequel at all. But overall, my honest opinion is that I think Carrion is a good Metroidvania game for the Nintendo Switch, particularly since even though it's a eShop title and all. Okay, this concludes my video review of Carrion for the Nintendo Switch. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Carrion? Have you played the game yet? Are you thinking about getting it? Are you thinking about getting it for the Nintendo Switch? Or do you think about getting it with the Mac, either on Mac, Linux, Xbox One, or PC via Steam? Do you like the whole concept of the reverse horror, where you're basically the hunter and not the hunted in any way, though? Do you like the gameplay? Do you like the art style or the music, though? Do you think there are some issues developers could have addressed, like maybe add a mini-map or made the controls, or do you think that the way they set up is just fine? Do you think the controls are difficult at time or not? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you like this video, then I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!